What's up? Sorry about that, guys. It just froze on me. Sorry. Literally just froze on me. So the last couple things. Sorry about that. Yeah, guess it just happens. The guy is just really something else, man. Chasing, 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 and then physically threatened me. I really want to say what I just bought 2 days ago, but I'm not allowed to say it right now. That's all I want to say. I really want to say it, but I'm not allowed to say it. So, yeah, I already, yeah, rejoined it. I already reopened the live. Sorry, guys. Sorry, sorry, sorry. That was an accident. Anyways, um, yeah. So, again, if I'm going to be accused of something, I'm just going to try to turn it into something like a teaching lesson. So, I get a lot of flack for it, but whatever. So, I mean, I look at it this way: how many people today, or the next guy will learn that how to adjust the pedal or be cautious about how they adjust the pedal. See, I didn't even mention about why I brought this up till somebody asked me why I brought it up. I don't even remember who asked me why I brought up this. So, you guys even remember who the heck asked me why I brought this up? Because you know what's funny is that kind of seemed like a little bit of a setup there, unless it was just an honest question. Because somebody literally asked, "Why did I bring up this today?" That somebody wasn't trolling. I don't know what is. Anyways, I think I didn't get a chance to answer a few questions. So anyone who had a question that I didn't get a chance to answer, please just re-ask the question. Right, but I didn't bring up anybody's name. That's the funny thing. I chose to make it a teaching experience. Kind of like when I went to my dealer, I went to the counter and they didn't have this plug because the part list wasn't available. And that meant that all they had was fk8 plugs. And I was told that they changed the plugs that morning. So rather than stating that specific fact, I chose to talk about this so that maybe somebody going forward doesn't do the same thing. You know, I mean, got two ways to look at it. So, am I going to refund the guy money for a clutch that I got an extra, got not only that I bought for it and put an additional $500 in, I'm going to refund them for somebody else installing a clutch that first they said was bad, then sent the clutch master. Clutch master said it was fine, and then I'm supposed to what? Refund his money? I don't get it. I just don't get the philosophy. So rather than focus on that, I figured I'd focus on what causes the problem. Chris, we can work something out for next week, just not the week after. We can definitely do that. Is there a bigger high pressure fuel pump other than the XDI? So XDI has a 60 series pump that's possible to be bought. And at the end of the day, the issue is going to be it's probably going to be a Motec only thing. I can't be 100%. I don't know exactly how much more it flows. So, you know what I got to do? I got to find that guy's Instagram and just block him. I don't know what his Instagram is. Anybody know what that guy's Instagram is? Because I just need to block them. That's all I just need to do is just block those guys. Sell it, maybe. I think, I honestly think, though, if the car gets dialed in, I really don't think you're going to want to sell it. Being you're only on like 20 pounds of boost, I don't even know if that's, I don't even think that that's even like 380. So I know you were saying that's about all you were at. So. What's up, Juan? May have missed all the fun. Ooh, most common mistake when they install TR2 cams. You know, so far, I haven't seen anyone put the pin in the wrong location. And I'll show you what I mean by pin. This pin limits the VCT, and it's kind of hard to see in the picture, but the circle shows the pin location. So far, I haven't seen anybody make the pin location install wrong. I would say valve lash, and thinking that stock cam timing will make power. Standard cam timing makes power. That's what they think. And those are the two things I see. I would have to say it's mostly like tuning. I haven't run across somebody yet who's timed it wrong, because if you take the cover off, the chain literally has colored marks on it. So. Yeah, what is it, man? So I just block him because clearly he's trolling the crap out of me. Now, one, I was saying for 430 on E30, it'd be, that's rare. It's very rare. So I don't really plan on like going further with the car. I'm kind of trying to. My whole goal is to try to give some more RPM out of it, so that this way I can turn around and basically just use a certain power band and just get less back pressure. That's the biggest thing I saw with a G series. So the G35 1050 was big enough to eliminate some back pressure issues. But the issue I have at hand is the smaller G series don't do it. And unless I were to buy like a G35 900, which kind of wouldn't really work too well, I wanted more exhaust side. So they don't make like the G series just doesn't work as well in that sense. And plus, going to an external gate is a better turbo. Let me see. Twenty-two 530. Wait, Civic Type R 22. There he is. Yep. Oh yeah. Thank you. That's him. Oh, one more headache. Right? Yeah, basically, Andy's right. Use a better power band. You know. The studs are in the hub. And I honestly I don't remember if you can take those studs out without pulling the hub off. I honestly don't remember. The thing is, so some of those aluminum uh, nuts, they get cross-threaded or they tend to gall pretty easily. So you broke the nuts and what? They're stuck. Oh, so can you get to them with a punch and try to break them loose? See, can I shake your hand, Crutanian? Because before he went and blamed somebody else, look at what he said. He said he may have over torqued them. So he put him in the possibility. So I don't want to shake his hand because there's that possibility that people can make mistakes. So, you know, if somebody else has torqued them, okay, then be on somebody else. Kind of like paying a company to fix something and they send it to you and it's fixed. That's the person who's responsible. Yeah, you can over torque the aluminum ones pretty easily. I'm not a huge fan of the aluminum ones. But the only thing I can think of is like, and I hate to say this, I don't know what kind of wheels you have, but they might come off. You might be able to knock them loose. I don't know how they broke. That's the other thing. Did they break coming off? Feels like 40 horsepower on the butt dyno. Between 93 and yeah, it can be 20 anywhere. So between 93, and I would say consistently 30 horsepower at the wheels, but the power is like everywhere. The other thing is it can be 40 wheel horsepower up above 6,000. So 93 octane tends to dip off, whereas E30 tends to kind of like level off. So yeah, it's definitely going to feel like a lot more than 30 sometimes. So what you're saying is they kind of stripped? Are you saying they stripped? Like basically they rounded off? I mean, if that's the case, are those the ones that have one of the 5 lug nuts is shaped weird? Where they have a key for one of the 5 of them? And there's no like, did you maybe didn't use a deep enough socket? Didn't cover enough of the lug nut, maybe? Ah, ouch. That's going to be a difficult one, buddy. Hate to say it. Oh, oh God. So, you're not going to like what I'm about to tell you. The only way I have gotten stuff like that off is a punch and a torch. You could try drilling out a stud, but you're going to be there for 3 weeks trying to drill a stud out. Because studs aren't exactly like super soft materials. And then you got to be careful you don't break the drill bit off in the stud. And unfortunately, if you torch it, you're going to ruin whatever paint's on that rim. But yeah, drilling out's going to be your option at that point if you broke it off like that. And I hope you broke the stud off with it, that it's at least flush on the inside. Now, I can tell you this. That may help you depending on the rim. You can use, oh boy. So I don't remember the Titans. Do they have like, if they have here's the trick. If they have like my welds do and they have a circle around the lug nut, you can put a socket in there and find a drill bit the size of the bottom of the socket so you can drill perfectly straight. So basically, what you can do is if you can get a socket that will fit in there, if it has like the socket will fit exactly in that area or generally so that you can drill straight. Turn the socket this way, and when you drill, you can use the socket, find the right size as close as you can get to the outlet of the socket. And you're going to have to find a big 3/8 socket that'll fit in there. And you can basically use a socket to align your drill bit. so that you can start drilling it correctly. Put it this way first to start it, and then once you've got enough depth in it, I mean, and this will help you kind of give you an idea of how to do it like that. That's about the only way if you're going to drill it, you know. Well, if you have the stud, snaps the other stud off, but it's not going to. Here's the thing: if he puts another lug nut on it and torques it and snaps it, it's not going to snap off below the original lug nut. It never does. Let me see something here. Who was that guy? Was that a fake account? I think it was. Yeah, we had a guy with a nice fake account last time I was in here. That was cute. Too bad I can't figure out his name at the moment. Oh, wait, maybe I can. I want to see that. I want to see that because I'm interested in something. These guys are making me interested in other things. Well, so I mean, so the Titan 7 are expensive. Yeah, there's not. Well, okay, now that I'm looking at them, there's quite a bit of space there. Well, hold on. Titan 7 Civic Type R, Vivid Racing. Well, oh, I'm thinking of the other way. Wait a minute. You're saying they're the cheapest, not terrible one. Aftermarket kind of $2,200 for rims is cheap. No way. Unless we're talking about something else. Because I'm looking at them on there on, unless I'm looking at the wrong set, $2,200 for a set of rims is not cheap. At least that's my opinion. I would say if you can get a punch, in there, I have a punch over here so I can punch it. No. And it's been a while since I had to use one. I don't have one on hand to show you. If you can get a punch in there, right, and kind of get on an angle and hit it with a punch, maybe you can knock them loose. You know, hit them with a heat gun, right, or try to warm them up some. Maybe drive around the block and let the heat get into the rim, and then take a punch and try to knock them loose with a punch and a hammer. Juan, you could buy a lot more than a ported head with that kind of money. You could buy a ported head with all the valve treatment in it for that kind of money. Yeah, I went back on Thursdays. So I'm gonna try to. Well, tonight generally happened because I'm waiting on components. I just can't. There's for whatever reason, I just can't seem to get all the components. Torco, I like Torco SGO. No, I agree, man. I ain't no millionaire either, man. People think I have all this money, but that's the thing. They see the car and they think all this money, but they don't know how many hours a week I work. If I had gone back to like a dealer and I worked 100 hours in a week, I'd be making the same money. So, and there's some weeks that I'm working 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, 12 hours. No, I don't have a video on how to adjust the clutch pedal. Um, but if I did that now, I'd be again accused of starting an argument. So, yeah, but okay, so I have a car instead of a big house, okay? That's what I have. I have a car and a business. It's all I have. I don't have a house that I own and yeah, and you know what? The bigger the company gets, the more people are just gonna like straight out jump the bandwagon and hate you too. Try to just steal from you. I realize that now, and it stinks because you try to ignore these people, but then they just go all out, chase you down, and you know, eh. My thing is, I just don't want to see other companies get screwed like that or get messed with. Full exhaust intake intercooler Honda System 85 is capable of 300 kilowatts at the wheels. See, I don't do in kilowatts. I wouldn't use a PRL intercooler. I'd use a Mishimoto, and on a Mishimoto intercooler, we end up with 440 at the wheels as far as horsepower. So, 2 kilowatts. Horsepower, 440. 328 kilowatt. So, if you had a Mishimoto intercooler and Honda fuel system with 50% ethanol, you'd be about 328 kilowatts possible. Honestly, Bernard, man, I don't know. That's all depending on what clutch you like, what your goal is with it, man. You know? I mean, FX350, still a heavy pedal, though. You're going to need at least an FX350 for that. There's I think it's X Clutch, and then there's like I think one other company, Osgeiken. Those I heard are great, but we don't know. Um, Realistically, we're stuck within a certain option. So, uh, it's the FX 400s, regardless if it's a 350 or a 400, they chatter, and the pedal's heavy. And I just because the pedal is so heavy, I would honestly try to make sure that, again, like I was trying to disclose earlier in this video, keep your clutch pedal closer to the floor. So, yeah, I don't. I think Comp Clutch was the one, or Action. I don't know if it was Comp or Action that was, everybody said that they really kind of had a lot of issues with. Let me see. There's Action, OS Geiken, Competition Clutch. Yeah, Comp Clutch is probably fine. Um, Let me see. X Clutch. Me personally, um, which was it? Is it X Clutch? There's one other one. Is it? Yeah, I think it's X Clutch. Let me see. The reason, the only reason I like the design, but the only reason I didn't go with it because I really just didn't have any more information on it. I don't suggest using the hydraulic throwout unless you plan to do the air gap. You have to set the air gap behind the hydraulic throwout. What's up, buddy? We might be on for too much longer. So so chatter is not what makes noise. Chatter is just a vibration. Um, the squealing and screeching sounds are because you're using a semi-metallic material against a metal flywheel. So that's where the noise comes from. Um, if you have a lot of rattling, that could definitely be some other issues too. I mean, no, I didn't hear about that. Sorry. Really hope you didn't hurt something in there. I'm sure that freaked you out. I don't know, man. I tighten those things pretty good. I use a T handle, and basically, as tight as I can get it with the T handle is what I use. I've never had one personally back out. Um, I'm sure the car ran like crap too, but you know what's funny is I really don't get it. I don't really don't get a lot of noise with the clutch pedal pushed in. Like it's not bad. It's very minimal. So I mean, I guess as long as you torque it correctly. Yeah, okay, so this makes good sense too. Like the FX350 and the FX400 are much easier to get going than the twin from a stop, especially either the street or the race version of the Clutch Masters twin. So I don't know. Some people say they hear a whole lot of noise and that it's like horrible for the twins, but the only time I've ever seen a twin really make a lot of noise is when they're done wrong. They're not torqued down right. They're not brought down correctly. Um, when you install a clutch, that's the other thing. This is something I should have brought up too. When you install a clutch, right? Most clutches have 6 bolts. So, yeah, I know, Andy, you keep breaking everything else. Pertanian, you have a good night, sir. So, where a lot of guys, they just see torque 20 foot-pounds, and they'll just go 20, 20, 20, right? 20, 20, 20. You don't do that with a twin disc, okay? Um, Actually, I don't like doing that with any heavy duty clutch. I will align it, get it to where it just floats. Half a turn, half a turn, half a turn, come across, half a turn, half a turn, half a turn. And I continue to do that until I slowly draw the pressure plate all the way up. If you don't do that, it will be a lot harder to disengage the clutch. The clutch will absolutely be more difficult because a twin disc is really, like on these cards, it's really not that bad. And if you're complaining that it's really heavy, either you really just like, or it's been torqued wrong. They just went 20, 20, 20, 20. And I don't do that. I bring them down and I do 16, 20, and then I add another 2. Because 20 foot-pounds is the spec. The other mistake, this is another good one. This is another good one. If you read Clutch Master's instructions, right? The flywheel bolts, they tell you, because there's 8 of them, they tell you to, I'll just explain it. Snug them up, right? Halfway. Take one bolt out, put thread locker on, put it in, torque it. Next bolt in the sequence, take it out, thread locker on it, put it back in, and torque it. You do not put thread locker on the bolts before you put it against the flywheel, because any thread locker that gets in between the back of the clutch surface and the flywheel can shatter or cause it to, under high horsepower, will start to do this and destroy the crank. Well, Andy, you understand this, but, Honda Tech, it doesn't matter if you work for Honda or you're a Honda tech. Like that doesn't represent full knowledge capability. You know, I, I I've seen guys learn so fast it's disgusting that they walk circles around. In 5 years, they're walking circles around a guy that's been there for 30 years. You know, and it really doesn't matter. The point is, if you don't follow certain directions, that's on you. I mean, don't be wrong. If you were to tell me 2 years ago that I would tune Motec, I'd be like, yeah, right. I said, that's beyond what I'm doing, you know? AM and all that stuff, sure. But Motec, I'd have told you 2 years ago, no way. Now I'd be like, sure, no problem, you know? But like, I need to be given the time allotted. So Motec requires more time because, well, I don't know, there's like 32 times as many tables. So I'm actually curious, trying to find out if I can get different firmware because what I don't like about one thing I say I don't really kind of like about Motec is the traction control strategy is fuel or ignition cut or both. And this is about to get a little bit wonky because I don't know how I got the traction control, but there's fuel margin, ignition margin, and then ignition limit. And fuel limit, there's four. And Motec gets really kind of stupid with this. So if you put in so let's say here is ignition, wait, we'll go IL, ignition limit, right? Margin equals, if you had an ignition margin and we set it to 400 RPM, 400 RPM before, sorry, God, this is always so confusing with Motec and how to draw this shit. Yeah, it's too complicated to draw. It's crazy. But basically, if you put an ignition limit, right, and you put a margin, the margin is how many RPM before it fully cuts ignition. See, Motec, as it begins to go closer and closer to that number, it starts to cut ignition in so many cycles. And then it starts to do it more and more and more and more. Then the fuel margin, okay? So a combination of fuel margin and ignition margin, if you put a positive fuel margin number in there, it will start to cut fuel after it starts to cut ignition, but it doesn't fully cut ignition. And then if you get past the full ignition limit, that many RPM in the fuel margin, past the ignition limit, fuel will cut also. So, but if you put a negative fuel margin in there, it starts cutting fuel first. And then the ignition, it's reversed. So if I put a minus 300 RPM fuel margin with a 300 RPM ignition margin, I have 600 RPM after the ignition limit before I get full fuel and ignition cut. It's stupid. I don't like it because I don't like cutting. I don't like ignition cut for traction. I like ignition reduction. That's why I like the Honda PID for traction. So, well, see, Andy, that's a perfect example, man. You never used to work on other cars until recent years. But does this mean that you can't possibly learn to be better than the next guy at the other car? You know? So, I think the biggest thing is most people, when they put in a defensive posture or an answer or try to get a job or make a job, is they'll use They'll often use that, you know, for that explanation. I mean, that's good for you, man, because to be honest, man, not everybody. So here's the thing. I can't tell you how so many years I waited to get my ASC certifications because I didn't feel that they were needed. And honestly, to be better at diagnosing a car, you don't need them. You don't need ASC certifications. You don't need EFI tuning certifications. Will they help? Yes. But can you be better than guys that have those certifications? Sure. All day long. So, yeah, I commend a lot of guys who take it upon themselves to expand. And honestly, like I said, 2 years ago, I told you Motec. Nope, no way. Nope. No, thank you. I used to think that 2 years ago, like, wow, this is amazing that you can tune Motec, and it's not anymore. Do I think that it's great when someone can tune Motec? Yes. Do I think it's like, I don't know, kind of like superstardom? No, I don't. Not anymore. Because I think if you just put work in, if you put the work in, you get the work out of it. So, Andy, on your car, you'd be kind of half jumping into the deep end. Only because you're not dealing with your standard fuel controls, and you're not dealing with port injection, and you're not dealing with a standard knock retard. So, in a sense, for you, if you haven't really tuned before, you might be jumping yourself into the deep end. But kind of like what I did with Motec, if you really want to think about it, I never tuned Motec, and my car, by the time I got it, I had a ported head, TR3 cams, 2500cc injectors, and an XDI high pressure pump, and a G35 1050 on the car. Like, I literally just dove right off a cliff without like cliff diving experience, So that was kind of, trust me, I put that thing in there and I was like, what did I just get myself into? Throttle pedal position had to be all, changed, everything. And it was one thing to have the software. It was another thing to work on a car with that many things going on. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I took my time and I worked at it every day, man. And all I can tell you is, man, just stay working at it, man. And the better you get, the more people are going to just try to like point fingers that you did something wrong. Trust me. That's just what they do for lump them. But all the guys that are cool and will back you and support you are worth the trouble. Just want to say that. Everybody that supported me, man, it's been worth it. It's been so worth it. So, you guys know I don't do these lives for well, I'm glad you got somebody to work with you on the Motec on that car finally. Wiring that car ain't gonna be no fun. I hope that somebody can do the firmware portion of it for you. But I was saying, like, I don't do these lives generally for, like, I do these lives and I bring up topics, and I bring up topics and lives from random points, from random points to people just, it's don't understand certain things. So rather than, just going straight off the deep end with it, hey. All right, guys, I'm going to call it an evening. And, yeah, I'm going to go play with my pup for a little bit before I go pass out for the day. And that's it, man. Andy, listen, I really hope you've got somebody to help you wire it and figure out the firmware. And, I really hope that works out, man, because it really would be cool to see an Accord on Motec, because then, man, you could do so much more stuff. So firmware is not something that I can do. That's for sure in Motec. The only guy I know who does it is that Fit Viper guy, and I don't think he really wants to get involved in that stuff anymore. Anyway, guys, man, y'all have a wonderful evening, and thanks for joining me. And I'll see y'all next week.